I remember me and this girl, we end up going inside her bedroom and we start doing the devil's tango. Then out of nowhere, I look behind me and I notice that the door randomly opens, but no one came in. I started to kind of worry until I looked over in the corner of the room and I saw her dog was just standing there watching me and her do the devil's tango. Like, what? Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to another insane story. So today's story is a pretty awkward one that I always wanted to tell on this channel, but I really didn't know how to tell it until today. And let's just say it all starts off back when I was in grade 11. Now, grade 11 was one of the most weirdest years for me because I was ruthless. And by that, I mean, I would do the devil's tango with basically anything that walked. Like, I was just out of pocket. And I'm gonna be honest here, I was like a D1 yapper. To this day, I still am. But honestly, like, the amount of things that happened in my grade 11 year was insane. And I remember there was one time specifically where one time I was hanging out with a group of friends of mine back in high school and we were all sitting in the cafeteria eating lunch. Until one day out of nowhere, this guy ends up walking up to me and he wasn't part of our friend group. We just kind of knew him from mutuals that we met throughout the school year. And he always wanted to be like one of the boys, but in a way, he was just a really weird dude to the point where we didn't really want to hang out with him. But this time he ended up walking up to us saying, "Yo guys, I just want to let you guys know, like, there's a party happening and like a group of girls just wanted me to tell you guys that. They're all like standing over there giggling, being weird about it. But yeah, there's a party. So if you guys want to go, here, I'll text you guys the address." We all end up sitting down, kind of looking at each other, kind of like making eye contact to see if we really want to go to this party. But obviously, if a group of girls ended up sending this guy to us, it was probably because they actually wanted us to go. So we all agreed to go and we ended up getting the address. And let's just say later on that school day, something funny ended up happening. Because when the bell rang for lunch, I remember I got out of the classroom that I was in and I was heading towards the cafeteria to meet up with all the guys. But as I was walking there, the same dude that told us about the party ended up walking up to me. And he said to me, "Yo, Bubba, can I talk to you for a minute?" Yeah, what's going on, bro? Well, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, there's a girl I really like, and like, I'm gonna be honest, man, she's really cool, and like, she wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up, and me, like, I love animals, and so does she, and like, I think we have something in common. Is it cool if like, maybe like, you know, you talk to her tonight, and like, you know, wingman for me? At that moment, I really didn't know what to say, and I felt really bad, because this guy was like your typical, like, no riz, like, no skibbity, nothing like that. I know that's brain rot language, but you guys know what I mean if you understand this day and age. So I remember I ended up looking at him, and I told him, "Dude, like, honestly, bro, just like, why don't you just walk up to her and just talk to her? Like, you don't gotta be weird about it." Well, like, I don't really know what to say, like, start off, you know what I mean? Like, every time I try to talk to a girl, I end up just standing there silently with her. At that moment, I knew what he was talking about because I used to have the same problem back when I was in middle school before I ended up actually becoming, well, the master of the devil's tango. So I told him that I would end up introducing him to her and basically helping him out. I remember he was super excited and super happy about that, and he even gave me a high five in the middle of the hallway. I don't know who gives out high fives anymore, like, you know, times have changed, I guess, but yeah, he gave me a high five and walked away. But after that whole situation happened, I remember I ended up going to the cafeteria to finally meet up with my friends. And when I sat down with them, I remember we were all just chatting and having a good time till one of the boys ended up pointing out something odd where he said to me, "Yo, Bubba, bro, that girl over there keeps staring at you. Isn't that like the group of girls that wanted to like bring us to that party?" I ended up looking over and I kind of just waved at her and she started giggling and looking at me and she kind of gave me a wink, I guess. I don't know if she actually winked at me because she was wearing glasses, so I really couldn't tell, but 100% she was staring at me. So me knowing this, I didn't know what to say and I kind of just looked back at my homie and said, "Yeah, I don't know, I guess I'll see her at the party." And that I did. But honestly, what ends up happening at the party was the most insane thing ever, because I remember later on that day, everyone was talking about the party. We all went home, we all got dressed and ready for the party to happen. But as I was getting dressed, I remember I ended up getting a phone notification from the guy that wanted me to wingman for him. And he basically messaged me saying, "Yo, Bubba, I don't know what to wear. Should I like wear something with fur since she likes animals?" Bro, what? No, just wear something normal. Like, you're not going to a furry convention. Are you good? At that moment, he ends up kind of laughing and then he says, "Okay, I'll just wear something cool, I guess." And then one thing led to another. I ended up driving over to the party with my car, and when I parked my car, automatically all the guys started coming out of the house since they saw me from the window, and they said to me, "Yo, Bubba, there's actually like a decent amount of people at this party, bro. The girls are hosting a pretty good one." "Oh yeah, they are? Okay, bet, let's go inside and see what's going on." I remember once I walk inside, automatically a lot of people started like looking at me really awkwardly because I guess I was like the only one at that time in my high school that had a car. But I tried not to make a scene, and me and my friends, we all ended up walking around the party just meeting people and everything. But then out of nowhere, someone ended up grabbing my wrist and pulling me to a different part of the party. And I remember I ended up seeing who it was, and it was the guy that wanted me to wingman for him. He ended up saying, yo, bro, so the girl's right there. I was wondering, like, do we just like walk up together and like you can introduce me? Wait, where? Oh, it's that girl over there. He ended up pointing at the girl that was staring at me, giggling and laughing when me and all the guys were sitting together back in the cafeteria at school. And when I saw that, I automatically did not want to walk up to her, because if I walked up to her and she already liked me in some sort of way, the guy I'm wingmanning for wouldn't even get a chance. But honestly, I didn't really know what to do at the moment, and I kind of just wanted to get the situation over with, and maybe, who knows, he might be more of her type than me. Probably? Maybe? No, because I remember when we ended up walking up to her, she ends up staring at me straight into my eyes, and that's when I told her, hey, so like I was just wondering, like, have you met my friend? And I ended up introducing the guy that I was supposed to wingman for. And when I said his name, she didn't even look over to him, nothing. She just right away shook my hand and said, oh, hi, it's finally nice to meet you. And like, basically, she was giving no attention whatsoever to the guy that was beside me. At that moment, I felt really bad, and honestly, he even knew that like he really didn't have a chance, and I really did not know what to do. So I ended up looking at him, trying to like make him basically like do a move or like, you know, start a conversation with her, but he was just standing there frozen as if it was still the Ice Age. Like, I really did not know what to do, and I looked at him saying, so my buddy, here, you know, he thinks you're attractive. Oh, wait, does he? I mean, like, what do you think? And right as she asked for my opinion, he ended up walking away. I ended up feeling so bad for him that I actually ended up basically telling this girl, yo, wait, just give me a sec. Let me go see what he's doing. Because since his feelings got super hurt, I was just making sure that he didn't do anything, I guess, wrong. And when I walked up to him, he ended up looking at me kind of like in tears, I guess. And he said to me, Baba, I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't think she's the one for me, but if you can you do her for me? What? Yeah, like, you know, like go home with her. Tell me the experience afterwards. Dude, are you good? Is what I told him. But after that, he ended up basically going home. At that moment, I felt really bad, but I felt like there was a moral obligation to basically, you know, hit it for my boy, if that makes any sense. I know that sounds really bad, but it made sense back when I was in high school. So basically, I ended up walking up to the same girl that apparently liked me for some reason, and me and her, we ended up striking a conversation together. We struck a conversation, and well, one thing led to another with my experienced riz that I had since, I don't know, growing up, I guess. Out of nowhere, me and her, we went home together. I remember I ended up driving her home after the party when everyone was leaving, and me and her, when we got to her place, I remember right as we got to the front doorstep, a bunch of dogs ended up basically running up to the front door and barking. Now me, I don't mind dogs, but dogs that are barking and being scary, yeah, that's not really my thing, okay? Like, you might as well take me to the zoo and tell me a wolf is a dog, because that's basically the same stuff, right? So right away, as I hear these dogs, I ended up looking at her saying, yo, I'm not gonna lie, I have one rule. If one of these animals end up biting me or anything, I will knock it out. Like, I will kick it and knock it out. I do not care. Oh, no, don't worry. They won't do that. Like, just don't, you know, scare them. What does that even mean? Don't scare them. Like, I'm literally at the door and they're already barking scared, bro. Anyways, going on with the story, me and her, we ended up going inside, and basically the dogs ended up moving back. She ended up feeding all of them, and there was like over like 4 dogs in there, so it was kind of weird. And me and her, we ended up going straight to her bedroom, and we ended up lying down together till one thing led to another, and we did the Devil's Tango. But things got super weird in the middle of the Devil's Tango, because I remember midway through, me and this girl, right, we're doing it in the bed, you know what I'm saying? And then out of nowhere, I ended up hearing the door creak open, and I thought it was a parent or something, so I started to freak out. So I look behind me and I see that the door was open, but no one came in. I got super weirded out, and I'm like, what? And she looks at me and she's like, is everything okay? Huh? Yeah, no, everything's fine. I just don't know what's going. What the? And at that moment, I ended up seeing a dog sitting in the corner of the room, just staring at me, doing the Devil's Tango with its owner. Like, what am I supposed to do there? I ended up basically staring at the dog, and the dog is staring at me doing the dog, and it's just, you know, it sounds weird. I know what I'm saying, okay? But like, I remember this moment so vividly because it was so awkward, as literally the girl ends up looking at me saying, what, are you weirded out that the dog's in here? Yeah. Well, I mean, like, they do this all the time, don't they? So like, totally fine if he watches, right? You want your dog to watch us do the Devil's Tango? Yeah. Is that weird? Yeah, that's weird. What? And at that moment, I ended up getting up and I ended up putting on my clothes, and I honestly just ended up going home. The next day at school, I ended up basically walking up to my buddy that I guess wanted me to do the girl, and he walks up to me saying, yo, Baba, is it true you ended up going home with her last night? Huh? Oh, yeah, I guess. Oh, really? What happened? Honestly, man, I would tell you, but I'm gonna be honest, you can just ask her dog. Wait, what? Her dog? And at that moment, I ended up walking away, realizing that my life is full of craziness. I remember she ends up up grabbing my hand and she ends up walking me into her bedroom. And that's when the weirdest thing ended up happening, where she went on all fours and she started barking at me like a dog. My girlfriend wanted me to be her owner. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to another insane story. Now, this story all takes place back when I was in high school. And I'm gonna say this right now. High school is full of weirdos. I think everyone understands, like, when you go into high school and you start meeting new people, you start to realize that there are some really massive freaks and then there's somewhat normal people. Now, luckily for me, I got the full-on high school experience. I got to meet weirdos and I got to meet total freaks and maybe a little bit of normal people. But I remember one day during high school, I was walking down the school hallway and I ended up seeing one of my friends walk up to me. Now, this one friend that walked up to me, he would always tell me the newest news in the high school. He would always basically tell me all the gossip that's going on and the tea that is basically needing to be spilt. To be honest, I don't know why he would always tell me all the tea and gossip. I really never actually cared. But this one specific time he ran up to me and told me some tea, I was actually surprised because he walked up to me and said, "Yo, Bubba, bro, listen, I know you don't care, but listen, man, you gotta trust me on this." "What, bro? What is it?" "Okay, well, you know that girl that you were really interested in last year?" That's a lot of girls, man. You're gonna have to, like, tell me which one." "You know, the one that's, like, in your class, like, last year." "What? Which girl are you talking about?" "Bro, the one that's blonde. You know which one I'm talking about." "Oh, her. Right. Wait, what about her?" "Well, like, she's single. You know that, right?" "Wait, she's actually single?" "Yeah, dude, you didn't know that?" And at that moment, I was in major surprise. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, basically, there was a girl that I had a massive crush in back when I first started high school. And let's just say one thing led to another. She automatically got taken, and I missed my chance to actually go on a date with her. But from what this guy was telling me, apparently that she was free for grabs, and, well, putting it that way sounds really bad, but you guys know what I mean. She was single and ready to be mingled with. So I remember at that day, I decided to take the opportunity, and I decided at lunchtime that I would actually go and shoot my shot. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You guys think I'm probably insane because this girl just broke up with her boyfriend. And back when I was in high school, one thing I learned was that when girls just break up with someone, they're the most vulnerable at that moment. I know that sounds really bad to say and makes me sound like the ultimate supervillain creepy person, but you gotta understand, that was just me back in high school and something that I just followed along with my playbook. If you guys don't know what the playbook is, well, that's a story for another day. But going on, I remember lunchtime finally came around and I was basically walking around my high school looking for this girl and trying to find where she was, until I ended up seeing one of her friends in the hallway, and I walked up to her friend saying, "Hey, like, I was wondering, do you know where she is?" "Huh? Wait, why do you want to talk to her, Bubba?" Because I heard she recently got single, so I'm trying to, like, you know, I guess talk to her." "Bubba, she just broke up with her boyfriend. Come on, seriously? Like, you can't be that much of a dog." "Oh, come on. Can you blame me? I was interested in her before her boyfriend even came into the picture. So just give me a chance, okay?" "Okay, but fair warning, she's going through, like, a lot right now, and, like, she's trying to find her, like, true self." Now, when she said that, I had no idea what that means. Like, I get it, it's Pride Month and everything, but, like, at this time when the story takes place, there was no such thing as Pride Month. There was no finding your true self, so I really had no idea what that meant. So I remember I just said, "Okay, cool. Well, she can find her inner self with me in her." "Really, Bubba? Really? What are you, 12? Wait, what? No, bro, can you just point out where she is?" I remember she finally ends up pointing her out, and I walk up to her. I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm okay. What's up, Bubba?" "Oh, well, like, I don't know. I was just wondering, like, you seem kind of down. Is there any way I could cheer you up?" "What do you mean you want to cheer me up? What's wrong with you?" "Well, you know, I heard you're going through a lot right now, and I was just wondering, do you want to maybe go out sometime?" "Wait, really? You don't think I'm weird?" "No, why would I think that?" "Oh, well, I don't know. My ex-boyfriend, he started telling rumors around the school. I don't really want to talk about it." "Okay, well, I don't really care what your ex-boyfriend says. I just want to know if you want to go out." When I said that, she automatically had a smile on her face, and she was actually into it. So me and her, literally that same day, we actually ended up going on a date. But I'm gonna say this, that date was one of the most weirdest dates of my life, and you guys are about to see why. I remember at that moment, me and her, we exchanged numbers, and we ended up basically deciding to go to the park. I don't know why we decided to go to the park. For some reason, she enjoyed long walks, is what she told me. So I said, sure, why not? I never argue with a good hike. So I remember that day after school, I drove back home to my place and I quickly got ready. And then from there, I ended up basically driving straight to the park. But before I went there, I ended up picking her up from her place. When I got her from her place, I remember she came out and she came out in all fours crawling on the ground, which I found really odd. But in my opinion, I thought maybe she just did that to quickly tie her shoes or something. I'm not really sure. At that moment, I didn't really question question it. But boy, I wish I did, because what ends up going on afterwards made me really weirded out. Because I remember she ended up getting into my car and we started driving over to the park. And when we finally got there, me and her, we started walking around and I started to realize she was acting really weird. Like she would try to sniff the air in weird ways. And every time there was like some certain animal around us, like a squirrel or another dog, she would draw attention to them very quickly. I found it really annoying. And I remember I looked at her and said, so, do you have like ADHD? Like, what's going on with you? Huh? Oh, no, it's just my changes I'm going through. Just don't worry about it. Okay, cool. I remember me and her, we did a good amount of laps around the park. If anything, we got basically a full-on workout in. And I told her, hey, do you want to like maybe like go for like a drink? Oh, yeah, I could definitely go for a drink. I'm down. So me and her, I remember we ended up going to our local Starbucks. And when we got to the Starbucks, usually, I like to order like a basic frappuccino or some kind of fancy drink that, Starbucks usually has. But this girl decides to be super bizarre and she looks at me, and once I order my latte, she orders a cup of water. Now, I'm not saying she's a weirdo for ordering water, okay? That's not the weird part, okay? I get it. Some people just don't want a fancy drink. But this girl, what she ended up doing with the water right after made it really weird. Because I remember right as me and her walk out of the Starbucks, she ends up taking off the lid of her Starbucks cup that had water in it. And she ends up, I guess, sticking her tongue inside there and starts licking the water instead of drinking it normally. Now, I've never seen this way of drinking water other than from animals. And at that moment, I started to really question what was going on with this girl. And do I really want to make this date weird and question it right then and there? I remember me and her, we ended up getting back inside my car. And when we sat inside, me and her, we just looked at each other. And at that moment, I just decided to say, so, where do you want to go next? I mean, you've been really good to me, Baba. Do you want to like maybe go back to my place and maybe we can get a treat? A treat? I mean, yeah, sure, I'm down. At that moment, I thought I was in. I thought me and her were gonna go, to her place and do the DEVILS Tango. So I remember I ended up driving to her place, and when we got there, I parked my car, we went inside, and instantly went straight to the bedroom. And right as me and her sat on the bed, we got close together, and she ended up licking my face. At that moment, I basically ended up jumping off the bed, and I looked at her and said, yo, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Baba, I want to show you my like true form. Your true form? At that moment, she ends up leaving the room and coming back in all fours, except in her mouth, she had a leash. And at that moment, I realized this girl pretended to be my dog. The whole time when I took this girl out on the date, she acted like a dog more than a human being. I don't know if that makes me a furry. Hopefully it doesn't, but I was really weirded out to the point where I looked at her and said, yo, like, are you good? Like, wait, what are you doing? Woof, 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 woof. Okay, you can speak English, Baba, this is like me, okay? Like, I'm a dog. You're a dog? That's what you realized? After all these years of going to high school with you, you figured out that you were a dog? I don't know. I guess in high school, you start learning a lot of things about yourself. But like I said earlier in the beginning of this video, there are weirdos and there are freaks in high school. And this girl went from being normal to a freak. Now, one thing about me is that I live in Canada. Many of you guys did found this out, through my TikTok and stuff, but not a lot of you guys know. And if you guys checked famous birthdays, you guys would know I live in Canada. And don't get me wrong, I love Canada. It's like honestly one of the most awesome places to live, and I love it here. But the thing about Canada is that we're really multicultural. I don't know, one of the two. And it ends up being really iffy because when you make a new friend that's like a different culture and that you don't fully understand, or maybe they're just different in a way. Everyone has like their own little twist to their culture. And let's just say, when it comes to girls, I guess they don't tell you the full thing about their culture. But this story does get kind of insane, and honestly, knowing that only 78.7 of you guys are subscribed to the channel kind of sucks. So my opinion, subscribe and get ready for an amazing story and crazy stories to continue on, because this is about to go nuts. Let's get straight into it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy story. So today's story is actually something like, I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna make you sick to your stomach, but at the same time, you guys will survive. It all starts off with me back in middle school. So back in middle school, there was this chick I met like in grade 8, and she was chill. She was a good girl. Like she wasn't anything insane. And she was a nice person. She was like a totally different culture. It was some Asian culture I wasn't really sure about, but she was beautiful. Like she was hot. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. And she always told me how like, she was a gymnast, and how, she always like is on par with her diets and stuff, and she only eats certain things that her parents give her. And I guess, as a gymnast and having strict parents, you kind of like on that healthy food diet thingy. I don't know. She lived on a totally different schedule than me. Like me, I sat at home eating burritos and while playing Minecraft like 80% of the time. But for her, like she was like a full-on active like person. Like she would come to school sweating sweating. Like, I guess she worked out in the morning or something. I don't know. And I remember one time, like, me and her were talking, and she kept, like, you know, saying, like, oh, your life is very nice. Like, I like how you, like, are able to, like, do whatever you want. Like, I don't know. This girl basically acted like she was, like, trapped, like, doing, like, you know, whatever her parents wanted, which, I mean, in this way, I kind of get it, because a lot of people, like, come from, like, different countries here, and they, like, you know, feel trapped that they have to, like, live on a schedule and stuff like that, and they don't have much free time, which, don't get me wrong, having a schedule is good, but sometimes get a little wonky, like my upload schedule. But anyways, like I was saying, so this girl was actually, like, you know, she was chill, we were talking and stuff, and I remember one time, you know, we kind of just took things to a different step, not a different level, but a different step, meaning very minimal. We started talking, you know, we started kind of flirting here and there. And I remember one time when me and her were talking about, like, some stuff outside the benches after school, her dad pulled up in his fancy Jaguar and straight up just, like, you know, said, like, come to the vehicle. And, you know, he took a good glimpse at me, and I don't know, I guess he saw something in me, maybe because, you know, I was very Canadian, because I was born here. And I don't know what it was, but basically I remember he actually ended up getting out of the vehicle after she was saying bye to me and hugging me, and he said, do you want to come to dinner? Now at that point I wasn't really sure why he invited me to dinner. I was really off-putting, but I remember looking at, you know, his daughter, or the girl I was talking to, and she was, like, shaking her head like, yes, yes, yes. And I was kind of like, you know, why not? Like, what's the worst that can happen? So yeah, I went to dinner at their house. I remember going home and actually telling my parents, you know, like, oh, I'm going to dinner with this, you know, nice family, you know, her daughter's really on schedule of everything, like, she's very smart. And when my parents heard the word scheduled and, you know, well put together young girl, they're like, yeah, go for it. You know, I guess that's the case when it came to me, because, well, all I did was play video games and talk a lot about sad things that happened in my life. Wow, still doing it to this day. But anyways, like I was saying though, so yeah, so, you know, I got my parents to drive me over to her house. We got there, and when I got there, I remember I walked into their house. Now their house was actually not that bad. They had, like, really fancy china, like, all over the place, and, you know, they had some, like, really cool, like, ninja samurai drawings. Like, I guess I don't really know what type of Asian she was to this day, but she was actually really cool. Like, it was fancy. And I remember on the TV, they had, like, this giant flat screen TV, and it had, like, her doing, like, gymnastics all over the place, and it was actually really cool. Like, it was a nice place. And I remember, like, I went to their dinner table, and I kind of, like, took a sniff of what was cooking, and I'm not gonna lie, it smelled really good. I don't know what we were eating for dinner, but it was actually, like, it smelled good. But I remember me and her went up to her room, and we started talking, and then, you know, we did make out here and there, which is kind of iffy, I know, but, you know, that's all we did. We didn't do the devil's tango, because this was, like, not when I lost it, you know what I mean? So it was, like, before that, and all we did was make out. So, I mean, fair enough. But yeah, you know, as we were doing that upstairs and stuff like that, I remember her dad came up and said, dinner is ready. And, you know, when he said that, you know, I was kind of like, okay, time to eat some good food. Now, I'm not racist in any way, shape, or form, but I don't know, when I was in middle school, I always thought when it came to, like, Asian food, either it was gonna be, like, ramen noodles or sushi. Like, that's the only two things that actually came to my mind when I thought of Asian food, and that's because I didn't know the culture well enough to know there was, like, you know, Japanese, Chinese, Vietnamese, like, all those types of cultures. But for me, I don't know, I kind of just went in there expecting food. I sat down at the table, and, like, I don't know what she brought to the table. It was some, like, giant, like, meat. Like, it was massive. I don't know how to explain the shape to you guys. It was kind of like, it was shaped like an animal, but I wasn't sure what it was. In anything, I kind of just thought it was a really skinny pig. God, was I wrong. Anyways, we all started, like, kind of, like, you know, getting our plates together and stuff like that. And, you know, I didn't even question the meat because I didn't want to seem rude. Because I remember, like, you know, one time I brought my buddy over, and my buddy was, like, asking, like, what the heck was this? In the middle of the table, my parents got upset, and I didn't want to do the same thing to her parents. So I kind of just started taking nibbles of what it was. But, you know, they had some kind of, like, you know, fried rice. So I kept eating that because I love fried rice. And, you know, as the family was eating, I remember her dad looked over at me and said, eat some meat. Very good for you. At that point, I was really concerned because I didn't know if I should eat it or not. But I'm not gonna lie, I took a bite. And I started chewing. And honestly, I don't know what it was, but the meat, like, it how do I explain this? It felt squishy, like, very squishy, like, not like steak squishy. It was a bit more tenser than that. I don't know. It was weird. And I remember I looked over at, you know, the chick I was talking to, or the, you know, my friend technically at the time, or more than a friend. I'm not sure. I looked over at her and said, what is this? She looked over at me and said, oh, this is dog. What? Bro, in my head, I was thinking, like, wait, like, what do you mean dog? What's dog? Like, I thought it was some kind of Asian word for, like, I don't know, pork. But no, I looked over and I saw literally it was an actual dog. Like, I ate a dog. Like, I took a bite out of a flipping dog. I don't know what kind of dog it was. I didn't want to ask. But on God, I was really just stressed out. I remember sweating, and I remember, like, I just wanted to puke. I wanted to puke. At that table, my face was turning white. Like, I was freaking out. I remember her dad looked over at me and she was like, do you like it? Very good. Very good. Well cooked. Fried. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Like, I thought I was gonna die. At that moment, I kept eating the rice, but I didn't eat the meat. Like, I just refused. And I remember the mom kept looking at me and saying, like, you know, like, are you okay? And I was concerned. I thought I was gonna die. So I remember I actually got up and I said, excuse me, like I have to go to the bathroom. And I went to the bathroom and I remember I stuck 2 fingers into my mouth and I tried to puke. I did not want to have any form of dog inside my guts. Like, no. So I remember I tried puking and stuff and I couldn't handle it. So I remember texting my mom saying like, Mom, I need you to pick me up. I don't want to die. Please. When I said the word die, she drove over right away and she's like, oh, I'm here to pick up a rash. Like, is he okay? And yeah, let's just say long story short, I got picked up. I went down and let's just say I never went to her place again. To this day, my parents ask like, you know, what they feed me and stuff. And I always said like, I don't know, I just said like ramen noodles or something. But to this day in my head, I always know it was a dog. And honestly, I feel bad. Don't eat dogs. I don't know. Like, I get like in some places, it's like a type of like delicacy, I guess. Same way we have like haggis. I don't know. It's actually, no, that's 2 very different things. I get that, but I don't know. It's just weird. But overall, just don't eat a dog. Like, there's no point. Like, I don't get it. We literally like take care of these things and like, it's like a man's best friend. I ate a man's best friend. Anyways, yeah, that's basically it for the story, guys. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comment it down below. I seriously love you guys. And like I always say, fall for more embarrassing stories. Peace.